My name is Amin Mukhi, and on behalf of Mukhi Nazar Momin, I would like to welcome you all to the Friends and Family reunion. It's so wonderful to see friends and colleagues, thank you, from the 80s and the 90s. I personally don't think we look a day older because we still got that spunk, but I'm sure, well, no arguing here. MashaAllah, Jamaat has grown really so much over the years that's really hard to keep up with each other. We have so many choices of Jamaat Khanas now. So it's great that we have this opportunity to meet and catch up with each other. The only question I have for Mukhi Nazar Momin is, why did it take you so long? So Mukhi Nazar Momin will be kicking off today's events. This will be followed by lunch. During lunch, we will display information about the early settlers and photographs that you all have submitted. It really wasn't feasible to add all the photographs, but we've done our best. So apologies for leaving any out, and an even bigger apologies for misspelling names. I'm really good at that. After lunch, Dr. Shiraj Danani will reflect on his term as a Southwest Council member from 87 to 93. And he's looking at me like he did in the old days and making me nervous. Like, what is Amin going to say next? So, look away. All right. Our main speaker will be Amin Hashim, formerly chair of EPB and also national president. I would encourage you to ask President Hashim questions. He has vast knowledge of our Jamaat, the past, present, and how we envisage us growing in the future. After that, we're going to have an open session where anyone's welcome to come here and share their experiences and ask questions. Mukhi Nazar Momin and Mukhi Nasir Panjwani, we didn't know until now, will be closing out today's events. Right? So with that, we will get started. So I'm going to start. So over the last few months, Mukhi Nazar Momin has been doing lots of research into the early Ismaili settlers through the 60s. Actually, he's even gone as far as the 40s, through the 60s and the 90s. So I congratulate you, Mukhi Sahib, on your initiative and your hard work in putting together this project. And I would ask you to come up here and share with us why you took on this project and what you learned. So please welcome Mukhi Nazar Momin.
Yali Madad, everybody. Such a wonderful gathering today after a long time. Former National EPB Chairman and former President Amin Hashim, former President Siraj Danani, former President Moiz Mangalji, I think he's coming now, and former President Sada Kambar, Dr. Suleiman Lalani, our state representative, District 76, he's here today, and all invited leaders and leaders' family members, and all invited respected guests, Yali Madad and Khushali Mubarak to you, all of you. It gives me a great happiness that with a very short notice, you accepted my invitation on behalf of the Southwest Council 1987 to 1990. I'm glad and we are happy that we all are almost in full attendance. My sincere thanks to all of you for coming today in this event. Some of you may be wondering how we got here. It is simple and meaningful gathering. We would meet and greet each other. I would divide the objective of this gathering in 3 different categories. Number 1 category is to recall history and refresh our good old memories. It will be supplemented and supported by PowerPoint presentation after I speak. Second objective is, where are we today in improving the quality of our life? And a third objective is, very important objective of this gathering is to assess how can we improve the image of Ummah on an individual basis. The roadmap has been identified for us to follow, but most of us might not have yet implemented it. Well, in 2019, I celebrated my 50th anniversary of coming to America with my family and relatives. In 1921, I celebrated my 75th birthday again with my family and members. I remember that 35 years ago, former President Siraj Dhanani and his councils got appointed and got an opportunity to serve the Imam of the time for doing khidmat and serve the Jamaat. Fortunately, I was one of those council members. So I asked former President Siraj Dhanani a few days ago if you would consider celebrating the 35th anniversary for getting opportunity to do the khidmat. He asked me, who is going to do it? I answered, I will take a lead and I will do a nice reunion celebration among friends and colleagues. We would invite the council members as well as the family of leaders, great leaders I should say, who were pioneers of this Jamaat during the early days of 1970s and 1980s, and invite the current leadership. So the first objective of my reunion is to refresh our memory. We have a PowerPoint presentation. Those photos will speak for themselves. On behalf of the councils, I invited all the family members of our former great leaders. All council members are happy to see those honor our invitation, and we are happy that families are with us today for the reunion event. We cannot forget our Rouhani members at any time because they were part of this Jamaat. I'm very proud to call out their good names, and they are not necessarily in any order. I hope you will excuse me if the titles are not up to date or current. Those great leaders were Wazir Muhammad Ismail, Wazir Abdul Rahman Lalji, Wazir Zulfikar Ali Waliani, Mukhi Sahib Rai Rahmat Ali Karimi, Kamriya Sahib Abdul Rahim Jamal, Mukhi Sahib Badruddin Mangalji, Wazir Badruddin Morani, Bahadur Bhai Kajani, Mukhi Sahib Abdul Aziz Qasim, Mukhiyanima Farida, Firoza Itmadi Muhammad Badru, Mukhyani Sahiba Nurbanu, also known as Almas Karam Ali, Mukhiyanima Karimi, Kamadiyanima Jamal, Itmadi Sahib Akbar Ali Jamal, and Itmadi Banu Amina Jamal, Mukhi Nizar Vishram, Aziz Bhai Jiwani, our great volunteer captain, Asim Jiwani, Mukhi Sahib Mahmood Ahmad Ali Ukanji, Hassan Ali Prasla, and Sabjali Momin. They were our great leaders, but they are Rouhanis today. So we pray that Mawla rest their soul in eternal peace. Ameen. Their families' services to the Jamaat were so powerful that they were never say no for the khidmat. In the early days of Eastern Jamaat, they were the giants. We were going through struggle in those early years, but they had lot of strength for doing khidmat. They never say no for khidmat. I work under the leadership of some of them, and some of them, though they were my father's age group, they worked with me for the khidmat. Frankly speaking, they taught me a lot, and I learned a lot from them, and this gathering is a result of their teachings to me. As an early arrival of Jamaati member from India myself at the age of 23, I have witnessed as we all attach to the word struggle. Most of us recall that we came with small suitcase and a few clothes and a few dollars. In my case, I came to Boston with one suitcase and $8 in my wallet. This is the story of all the families. At the same time, I have seen the Jamaat growing manifold with Mawla's blessing. We were only two people in Boston in 1969. The New York City metro area had only less than 25 people holding Jamaat Khana ceremony on Saturday night at Rai Abdul Devji's apartment. Mukhiyanima Gulzar Devji still stays in the same apartment after 60 years in Manhattan. From early childhood, I always maintained the contact with Ismaili and non-Ismaili friends. Nasir Bilawala provided me the affidavit of support for me to get a student visa. Nasir gave me the address of his elder brother named Nuruddin Bilawala in San Jose, California. and another brother, Shahabuddin Bilawala in Oakland, in Thousand Oaks suburb of Los Angeles in 1972. Jamaati member encouraged me to document many life story, my story. After it was published in the Ismaili magazine last year, I started doing research. I found that Nurdin Bilawala was first Ismaili coming to USA on February 27, 1947. I would call him Ismaili Christopher Columbus. I was struggling for many years to find out about Nurdin Bilawala because I met him and his brother Bilawala in 1972. Finally, after a long struggle, I got hold of one person named Chris Bilawala in California. After several back and forth of telephone calls, he sent me Nurdin Bilawala's immigration document, and his photo in those days proved that he came in 1947. I started tracing arrival of other Ismailis in the United States. A lot of Jamaati members across the country started helping me for this cause. With Mawla's blessing, our community is living in the very exciting time of our life. And again, you will be seeing this thing from PowerPoint presentation. My second objective was to assess individually and collectively we are a lot better off today than 50 years, 40 years, or 30 years ago. With Mawla's guidance, our community's work has been recognized at all the level of government authorities. Now we have a city council member, now we have a state representative, now we have Ismaili Supreme Court judge in California. You may see from the PowerPoint presentation that 5 former US presidents giving the Point of Lights Award to our Southwest Council President Murad Ajani. For the community, young community, this is a remarkable and huge achievement. We are very fortunate to eyewitness this news. In my opinion, one of the biggest achievements of this community, which have started arriving in a very short time, is getting the award from the presidents of the United States. We will be getting more awards, but former 5 presidents will be in presence or not will remain to be seen. There will be no 5 presidents, there may be 3 presidents, but having a 5 president, I don't think this will be repeating in the next 1,000 years even. So this is a great achievement for us. The third objective was, how can we help Ummah to restore its glorious period? We were very fortunate to receive the guidance, 2 phrases of Hidayat that made us 5 years ago, make me to think. That Hidayat was saying, I make you my da'i and I make you my ambassador. Those 2 sentences tells a lot for us to follow, a lot to us to think about. We should think through and analyze what is expected out of us on individual basis or collective basis. We have to do what we have done since the last 5 years ago. That time we got this message, be my da'i or be my ambassador. How much we have done or how much we have started doing it. Few family members might have started working towards the goal, but I think a lot can be done by the member of the community. We can be an extended arm towards this goal. I'll be releasing an email once the program is over today. It is simple, how simple it is to be da'i. I will send you a goodie bag via email. This goodie bag is for the mind and the soul, not for the stomach. It includes statements, phrases for the speeches, quotes, and very powerful letter of first Imam Hazrat Ali to Hazrat Imam Hussein, and few more. All you must do is forward those material or portion of material to some of your non-Ismaili friends who may be interested in knowing about Ismailism or Muslim Ummah, basically. I have also included in your gift bag printed copies of material of articles of few of the bestseller book called How to Win Friends and Influence the People. I couldn't get all the books. Amazon was selling old used books, so I decided not to buy all of those old books. But I have bought as many as 25, but and they are in the goodie bags with you today. For this reunion event, former President Amin Hashim took time off from his busy schedule and flew from Washington, D.C. to be a speaker of this gathering. Amin, we thank you very much for your time and knowledge given to us today. Also, there were so many Jamaati members, local and around the country, helped me in providing the documents, photos, and contact information. On behalf of all council members of 1987-1990, I acknowledge and appreciate their services for this project. They were listed here without any Jamaati title and not necessary in that order. Producer of reunion event, Nazar Momin, Sugarland, Texas. Information provider, Institutional Leadership, Houston, Texas. Dr. Siraj Dhanani, Houston, Texas. Amin Hashim, Reston, Virginia, Washington, D.C. area. Mariam Kabir Popatia, Edison, New Jersey. Al-Nur Hirji, Connecticut. Alnar and Amir Rehmat, Chicago, Illinois. Chris Bilawala, Los Angeles. Omar Leo Bilawala, Los Angeles. Nevin Bardai, Chicago, Camarillo, California. Farid Mavji, Orlando, Texas. Moez Daya, New Jersey. Yasmin Azad Bhayani, Ottawa, Canada. Karim Marani, Houston. Dr. Moez Nasser, Houston. Amin Devji, Houston. Dr. Gulshan Harji, Atlanta, Georgia. Nasruddin Rupani, Houston, Texas. Sadruddin Momin, Houston, Texas. Amiruddin Momin, Rosenberg, Texas. And Kabiruddin Pir Muhammad Momin, Sugarland, Texas. Kamila Nazar Ali, Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. Member who helped me to put this program together, Amin Mukhi, for PowerPoint presentation. Without his help, this PowerPoint presentation would not have been possible. Shahroz Momin, Meridia, logo and backdrop, Sugarland, Texas. Syed Ali, Technology Assembly, Houston, Texas. Rahim Karim Duka, audio, video, documentary recording. Rahim Karim Ali, photography. Tajdin Momin, Elite Restaurant, Sugarland, Texas. He owns this property. And guest registration and gift arrangements done by my son Ali Momin, Karim Momin, Zohra Karim Momin, and Sarina Karim Momin. They all helped me in putting together this place. And biggest help I got it is all from you, because without you, this would have not been possible. So I think biggest appreciation that I should do is to you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mukhisai, for taking the initiative, your hard work, and sharing your thoughts. Now we will break for lunch. During lunch, we will have the PowerPoint presentation that Mukhisai just mentioned. Anyway, so we'll have that, we'll have some cake, and then after that, we'll resume a more formal presentation. So. As I said, I had the distinct pleasure of serving with our next speaker on the Southwest Council. He is a renowned cardiologist and an avid golfer. Please welcome Dr. Shiraz Zanani.
Ali Madad you all and Kushali Mubarak. My wife has warned me that now I'm a fuddy-duddy. So I could even fall asleep while talking, so watch out. First and foremost, we have to acknowledge and welcome some of the members who have been invited but not here yet, and that's President of the National Council, Al Karim, President Saiba Salina Sharif, and President of the Local Council, Murad, Johnny. Yes, they're coming, but I won't have time to say welcome them second time, so I'm doing it right now. And I also would like to welcome our past EPB chair, as well as past vice president and past president of the National Council, Amin Hassan. He's made a special effort to be here. And the first order of business is that this was tough to organize this. It has taken us 35 years to be under the same roof, all of us, from 87 to 90. And it took Nazarbai a lot of time to organize it and also do it so well. The food, the venue is excellent. I think we should give him a standing ovation. Please rise. He has done it with a lot of emotions. He really means everything he says. And I think the collection that he has created here will be copied and distributed to all of us, right? So we can cherish some of the memories from the past. 35 years is a long time. And you wonder, when you're asked to say something, what do you say? What do you not say? What should you say? What you shouldn't say? But I'll try and stay within the boundaries of history of Houston. Sultan Khwaja told me today that today, this month, is the anniversary of the 50 years of Houston Jamaat. This is when Sultan Khwaja, his wife, Mukhi Sadr Momin, his wife, and Karim Mirani, and somebody else, Pyar Ali Umatia, right? Amiruddin Momin, okay, Pyar, I believe. They met in 72 by chance and then started getting together, right? So that's really that's how the Jamaat started. Most of the members of our council were very young. I had just turned 40 when I became the president. And I know all my members were below 35. They were probably in their late 20s, most of them. And they all had their budding careers at that time. They were just starting in business or professions. And I can't even describe, in 35 years, they're all very highly successful people. Mohammad Ghulamsan, my honorary secretary, is not here today, but he has done very well. Sultana Mangaji is not here today, but she went on to be she was ITREP chair with us, but she went on to become member on the National Education Board, and then on multiple NGOs and other, foundations in the city. And presently she serves on the Akan Museum Board, which is a very high-level position. Ashraf Ramji was an honorary secretary, but at first he was a member for social, also a highly successful attorney, and helped us a lot in just about every endeavor we had on our agenda. Anita Jamal was an associate judge for 20 years, retired a couple of years ago, I was just told. Dr. Fatima Mauji was not here today, was an anesthesiologist. She was a member for women's, I believe, later a member for health. Went on to become a national member of social for at least 1 or 2 terms, I think 1 term. And I think she was very highly successful professionally. Sultan Khwaja, a multi-talented gentleman that helped us a lot just about in every activity we had. He became honorary secretary of the local council with Moiz Mangaji, I believe. He was also a Kamari of the Sugarland Jamaat Khana, right, Sultan? Yeah. Muki was a member at large, but always an IT guy. In those days, 35 years ago, who knew computers? Nobody knew, even email wasn't there yet. But he was in charge of presentations, computer work, and we still use him. Today's presentation was all organized and by him. Nazar Momin himself was a member for EPB. It's usually a council appointment for a year, but he was there for 3 years, right? 3 full years. Became a member on the National EPB board and was a Mukhi of headquarters Jamaat Khana. Correct? Yes. Moiz Nasser, very famous optometrist, PhD. He was a member of education for 3 years with us, right? Went on to become an honorary secretary for the ITRED, National ITRED. And then chairman of the local ITRED, yes. Very highly successful. He still goes to East Africa, especially Kenya, and runs eye clinics there on a regular basis. And really, Kenyan government has recognized him for that already. Late Hamid Hussain, I'm not sure the family is here, but he helped us a lot. And of course, without Sakina Damani, we really couldn't do a whole lot in the council, ever. 2 of our later members, Moiz as a member for education and Sada as our local council member at large for the district, eventually became president. And their success stories are, only you all know about that. I don't have to elaborate their success stories. San Marlo was where we all started. And in 1985, Ibu Diwan Sahib Ibu Pirbai approved headquarters Jamaat Khana's lease. 10,000 square feet, and it was a lot of money per month. I think it was $15,000 rent per month. Nobody ever expected that he would say yes, but he did. And that was the beginning of our Jamaat progress, headquarters Jamaat Khana. That we got one building only. We had RE classes, council chambers, as well as the Jamaat Khana itself. And as time went by, when 1987 came about, we were able to rent for ITREB in the second building next to it. The 1986 Padramani was something that I don't think anybody would forget. It was a very momentous occasion for Houston Jamaat. If I'm correct, the entire Southwest Jamaat was only 7,000, Southwest Jamaat. That included Dallas. Included Dallas, it was only 7,000 during that Padramani. So we had so much time with Maulana Azimam during that visit, 2 or 3 days. Yeah, I don't think we've ever had a Padramani like this before, ever again. And again, we are still riding on the coattails of gentlemen who organized that Padramani, and some of the members are still here today. And one of them is Mukhi Zuldatu, Kamaria Shiraz Ghulam Ali, Mukhi Saduddin Momin, Karim Meran Yoko, backbone of the entire Padramani. Ashraf Ramji, he helped with the entire facility, and Zul Waldi, and wife Yasmin Waldi is present here today. So 1987 was a very special year when we were appointed. That was the year new Ismaili Constitution was ordained. We all got a new copy, we all had to read it and memorize it. That was the year when the new ITREB was created. That was also the year when the new RKEB was created. So we were all new to these 2 new institutions and the new constitution and the new rules and regs. And there was a lot to do for us. But I think most of the members were very very, very intelligent, young, and helped us really abide by the rules and regulations as much as we could. 1987 was also the first San Antonio Jamaat Khana opening in July. It was actually worked on by the previous council under the leadership of late President Akbar Jamal and Karim Mirani. But we were the fortunate people to go ahead and open the Jamaat Khana, the first Jamaat Khana. Jamaat in San Antonio was only 150 at that time. Today, you know, they have a ground of Jamaat Khana, beautiful Jamaat Khana. I think more than 2,000 Jamaat, right? That was also 1987 also was the first clear lake Jamaat Khana, first clear lake Jamaat Khana. And it was, the work done on that Jamaat Khana was done by Kamaria Shiraz Ghulam Ali, who is not present today. In that Jamaat Khana, within a year, we had some problems. The building got bought out by another gentleman, and our lease was null and void suddenly. So we quickly had to find another place for Clear Lake Jamaat Khana. We had to make multiple trips there, but Malik Waliani came through. Because of his help, we were able to get another Jamaat Khana very quickly. It was temporary for a few years, but then, of course, Moise Mangalji's time, President Moise's time, we got a solid deal with a beautiful Jamaat Khana in a manner which is now emulated elsewhere in the country. The same kind of pro forma for doing a Jamaat Khana. So that was a milestone. This was also the time when Pioneer Credit Union had already been established. I wasn't sure. I thought it was 1985, but Muki Nazar and Muki Sultan Khwaja both confirmed to me that it was 1983 when it was created. And today, that credit union has the assets at least $500 million, right? At least $500 million, right? In 1987, 88 or 89, two gentlemen approached me, marhum late Mukhi Karimi and late Roshan Ali Marshall, came to the council office and said, we would like to start an Islamic credit union. Here is the charter, read it and tell us what you think. What should we do? I was very young at that time. I read the charter. I knew how Pioneer was doing. So I said, I'll ask the National Council. And so I basically punted. I said, I'll get their advice on it. Unfortunately, that advice never came. But they went ahead with the credit union. And today, that credit union's assets are over $500 million, that credit union. I think those two credit unions really supported the Jamaat, gave them the confidence, and the Jamaat started growing significantly after that time. In the 90s, early 90s, oh, by the way, we had a nice Jamaat Khana here, but Dallas Jamaat, which was under us, did not have a good facility. So we initiated a permanent center in Dallas project. It took 6 years for it to finally get fulfilled, but it happened. And at the same time, headquarter lease came up for renewal, and we were able to renegotiate 2 buildings at the same rent. And so we were able to have a social hall and more REC classes at the time. And soon after that, actually, we were trying to buy those 2 buildings for $1.5 million, but we didn't because we thought it was expensive. Within a few months, the owner went bankrupt. The building went out, both the buildings went to FDIC for sale for $750,000. So we had only 24 hours to make a decision and buy the building. And we had a donor, Mukhi Karamali, who is not here today. He and his late wife, Almaz, both came up with the money, and I think Nazar may have had something to do with that, right? The next day we went to FDIC and we bought the buildings. There were some issues with the building, and I'm sure, Devji from the National Council very, very well aware of that. It was part of a deal whereby we could not hand over the property to the imamate. But I understand that in the last few years, the other two buildings got also bought out by us. And now all four buildings now, finally, last year have been part of the AKL, been accepted by AKL. So what started 30 years ago finally is ours, completely ours. In the early 90s, we also felt that a lot of Jamaati members were living around headquarters Jamaat Khana. There were a few members who were living in Sugarland, and we sort of wanted to move the Jamaat towards Sugarland, especially those who could afford houses. And that was one of the main reasons why we wanted to move to New Sugarland Khane. And we had a team appointed. There was Mukhi Zuldatu, who was right there, Mukhi Sadul Momin, late Badur Khajani, Huzur Mukhi Badur Khajani. And with their effort, within a few months, we were able to find a facility, which is present Sugarland Khane. I think we used the same agent that Mukhi Zuldatu recommended. I forgot his name. Ted? Ted Curry, yes. Yeah, Ted Curry, yes. So that's how Sugarland Jamaat Khana came up. Initially, the Hajri was not that much, but you can see within a few years, it really got busy. And a lot of properties got bought out in New Territory and in Sugarland following that. In fact, when President Moise Bangalji did a demographic survey for the HPC, it showed that the majority of our Jamaat was now in that area, in the HPC area. In 1990, yes. Correct, which I knew he bought it, but I wasn't aware that it is already done. Is it done? Not yet. Not yet, okay. So in 1990, when we went to Maulana Hazim Imam for the first end of term visit nomination meeting, we were just 4 local presidents, chairman of ITREB, president and vice president, 7 of us. As we finished the meeting after many hours, and we were done, and Maulana Hazim, I remember distinctly, turned to President Saib, Sul Ismail, and Vice President Habibullah Jamal and said, I would like you to work on a high-profile Jamaat Khana in USA. So that was in 1990 June. And they said, yes, Khudawind. So as we left, I came up with that idea that we should be doing something. So 90 passed, 91 passed, and 92 beginning in February, we had a National Council meeting in Houston in President Moise Bangalji's hotel in Holiday Inn on I-10, I remember that. So we said we should stir the pot. Our membership felt that we should stir the pot. So I got some help from Ashraf and Karim Marani. He prepared some statistics. He prepared a video. And I presented that to the National Council during lunch break without being on the agenda, showing very boldly that Houston should be the right place for a high-profile Jamaat Khana. And the presentation was very convincing. And all the other local presidents were in a shock because they never expected this to happen. So that's how the cascade started, and I'm sure President Amin Hassan remembers that. In the very next meeting of National Council, all the other presidents from Chicago, from Atlanta, from LA, and from New York had to make and Dallas had to make their own presentation as to why they should be better than us in having a high-profile Jamaat Khana. And I'll tell you, we were not the top in the overall evaluation. But look how the tides turn, and we are now actually building the high-profile Jamaat Khana in Houston. Seriously, that was amazing to me. I just wanted to make the point that some of the architects of all those efforts are still in this room, and I think this kind of a gathering brings us together. It's like a big family, and I think we ought to do it more often and perhaps more informally. That's what I'm trying to tell Nazar. The next time a big event comes, we will all contribute, and we can have another event of this nature. And I once again want to thank him for initiating this event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President Nani, for taking us down memory lanes. Our next speaker is an accomplished and distinguished individual who has served in our institution at the highest level and for a long time. When I asked him how he would like to be introduced, I was expecting a 2-page fine print bio, but instead he simply said, as former EPB chair, former National Council president, and LIF member, please welcome, he's gone away, please welcome Mr. Amin Hashim. Come on, Amin, come on down. See, he's going to make a dramatic entrance, like a true pro.
Okay, good afternoon and Yali Modat everyone. Don't worry, sorry for these glitches here. My speech is this short, okay? So, no problem. That means people want to leave, so anyway. So thank you so much for having me here. It's a real pleasure, in all sincerity, to meet so many friends and colleagues that I've crossed paths with in the late 80s, in the 90s, in the 2000s. It's been a huge privilege, honor, and an education. Amin Kera, where is he? Amin, yeah, he said that my bio is in fine print and 2 pages and all that. It's not that, okay? I would not know what I know today without the experience gained in the various institutions. It's as simple as that. Our former CEO, Amin Devji, will know that in many of the previous National Council meetings, we used to often say, which is the best university in the world? And Dr. Nazim Natu will remember this also, okay? Dr. Nazim Natu, PhD. Which is the best university in the world? And when we looked around the council members, somebody said this, I'm not going to name the universities, we know what they are, both in USA, Canada, Europe. And after the various candidate universities, I said, you're all wrong. The best university in the world is the UNC. And people looked at me skeptically and said, UNC? You mean the University of North Carolina? I said, well, the University of North Carolina is a very good school, but I'm referring to a unique university that doesn't exist anywhere else. It's called the University of the National Council. And I mean that seriously. That was then. Today, if you were to ask me which is the best university in the world, I would say the UII, the University of the Imamat Institution, which embraces the Jamaat Institution. The amount of substance and detail that I've learned, it's been an honor, a privilege, and education. It's totally humbling. Okay? No, I don't know of any place, okay, that provides so much education. I'm being very objective. Our all-wise Moiz Nasser is here. Is it not true that what each one of us does as a murid with a murshid is entirely up to the murid and murshid relation, correct? But with regard to the secular side, I've had the chance to, of course, and all of you, to observe Maulana Hashim Imam's actions, his principles, his consistency throughout the last 65 years. I'm just amazed. And one reason I quickly say that is because, by the way, as you know, I'm from Washington, D.C., and I'm here to help you. Okay. All politicians say that, right? No. Is that having lived in Washington for a long time, I've had the chance to understand the work of the World Bank, the International Finance Corporation, and the U.S. Agency for International Development, and other foundations based in Washington. Of course, they have so many resources, like the World Bank, if I remember correctly, its total budget in soft grants, loans, etc., to developing nations is about $40 billion. The International Finance Corporation, I don't want to bore you with all this stuff, but I just want to make a comparison that it's involved in private equity investments up to $10 billion a year. AKDN and our Jamaat institutions worldwide don't have those resources. Okay, yet, if I objectively cross-compare the Jamaat institution network worldwide and the AKDN network worldwide, these are really the grand resources to the World Bank and IFC. Honest to goodness, I do not know how Hazimam did this. It is absolutely brilliant, starting July 11, 57 to today. So enough said, okay? I just wanted to introduce all of that right up front. So thank you so much for everything. Muqtab Nazar Momin, thank you for contacting me early in November. I said I'd be happy to come if I could do it, and I'm here. So thank you for that. I said, so long as you serve me lunch, I'm good to go. He said, fine. But he said on one condition. So when I come to Houston, in the 3-4 days that I have here, he would like me to visit the success stories of the Houston Jamaat. Now, of course, I've been here many times before, and over the years and decades, I've observed the development. But I came here Thursday evening. It's a blur now. Friday, Muqtab took me to, where did we go? To Pioneer Credit Union, which was the first visit. I met with the president and CEO, Shaukat Ali, about the institution. I remember how credit union started. And Shiraz touched on that, President Shiraz. He gave me the annual report. He gave me all the information. I'm amazed about the progress that the Pioneer Credit Union has done. I know there's a Missouri. I know there's a Platinum in Atlanta. I do not know of such credit unions and their power in other nations in our global Jamaat. I don't know whether I'm right or wrong, but that's what I think. Okay, objectively speaking. Thereafter, okay, Muqtab Nazar took me to, oh my goodness, the warehouse of the GHRA, the Greater Houston Retail Association. I've always been a champion of trade associations and our C-stores and gas stations that used to be just 5 back in the late 80s, 90s. Today there's a whole lot more. And the warehouse that I saw was truly staggering. It's the size of 1.5 football fields, am I right? That was Friday. Yesterday was Saturday, right? So he took me to the Pioneer Sports Complex that is coming up on 44 acres. We walked through the sports complex and various buildings and plans. I was stunned. Again, I do not know of any Jamaat globally that has this kind of facility or is even planning to do that. I may be wrong, so don't get me wrong. Okay, so thank you so much, Muqtab. It's been a huge education. And the bottom line about the Houston Jamaat is that it is a powerhouse, objectively speaking. It's a powerhouse, and the contributions that has already been made by the Jamaat and to be done even further is truly outstanding. Okay, so I just wanted to introduce it. Now, to keep time, by the way, this event was supposed to start earlier, but there was one gentleman who vetoed the whole idea, although Muqtab Nazar was planning this. And this gentleman said, hey, you can't start the session early because he wants to attend the World Cup final, okay? Which is Moise Nasser. Yeah, I'm a soccer fan, and we grew up playing soccer with President Zul Datu. He's younger than me, but So anyway, so time is of the essence, and to help me maintain time, I've asked Sakina to time me so we can go forward, okay? All right, and Karim is helping me on the laptop. Okay, so we're here, the theme is Welcome to America. It's a reunion, it's a remembrance of certain of our colleagues that have passed away, and it's a celebration. Okay, and the grand objective is to reflect, recall, and fond memories of rapid growth and the progress we already made. And I'm going to ask Muqtab Nazar, I said, Muqtab, our luncheon about the barabar sheikh, what is it that we're going to leave our friends with after the luncheon is done? In other words, we not only need to talk about the past, the present, and the future, okay, is to then think about where do we go from here. So it's been a grand transformation since 1970 to 19th January period, all the way to 2022, that's where we are now. Now, actually in Houston, you all say, Houston, we have a problem. No, there is no problem. Okay? Where we go from here, or even as far as 2050, and if I have time in the end, I will tell you about Maulana Hazima's vision beyond 2050. I don't know exactly what the vision is, but it's foresight. Okay, so we are the past, present, future. We are one global Jamaat, as you heard, in the Diamond Jubilee and beyond. And we have a lot of responsibilities, and we've got a lot to do. Okay, so I've tried to divide my remarks into 8 parts. Main message, which I already gave you, about the powerhouse of Houston, and I mean it objectively. How we evolve, the big challenges ahead, which also the flip side is opportunities for the Jamaat and institutions. What are the solutions to meet those challenges? What was our vision back in 2020? And Maurice Bangladesh, Sadar Kambar, and Shiraz were with us on the National Council when the plan was constructed and the envisioning of the vision. What was Vision 2020? Did we attain it? You know the answer to that. And what could be or should be our vision to 2050? And finally, the 2 best words in the English language, in conclusion, okay? All right, ready? Okay, we've come a long way, already said that, against all odds. I've heard all kinds of stories, as you all have, as to how people came from South Asia to East Africa, to West Africa, to Central Asia, here. What the struggles are all about, they're incredible. And yet, thanks to the United States of America and the resources here, the progress we've made since that time, since 1970, has been astonishing. I can give you more stats on that, but anyway, keep going. Okay, so here's the report card. You can't quite see it, okay, but you can see that back in the early days, Houston was in a red condition, meaning not very good. South was same thing. USA, Canada, Europe were a bit ahead because they had settled a little bit earlier. Then the Middle East, North Africa, South Asia, Central Asia, Pacific Asia, Africa, red, 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 red. And steadily they began to move thanks to the institutions, Jamaat institutions and academic institutions. They went from red to orange to yellow to green. Bottom line, see that blue arrow? That's where we are today, 2022. From here on, and by the way, I've consulted with President Al-Karim Al-Adina. Unfortunately, we did not have the chance to meet physically and go through the slides. I had a brief chat with President Murad, Vice President Salina, briefly. So they have not seen this, and I hope I'm not saying anything out of line. But here we are in 2022. Going forward, all the nations, regions that are challenged by economic, social, political, and other forces, we have to convert them into green. And the powerhouse, which is Houston, Southwest Texas, and USA, if we don't take the lead, that's my opinion, if we don't take the lead globally, others will do that also, but I think we have all kinds of resources, professional, intellectual, financial, and otherwise, to bring about that change. And Hazim Ahmed said this, by the way. Am I right? Okay, keep going. Okay, so what was the evolution? How did it all start? Which you heard from Muqtab Nazar, Shiraz. Keep going. How did we advance? We immigrated, we dispersed and settled. We integrated, not assimilate. Hazim Ahmed always said there's a difference between assimilation and integration. Assimilation is when you ditch all of our traditions and heritage and become totally absorbed in the environmental culture, okay? We integrate it. We can move fluidly between one community to another without any issues, okay? Go back. Sorry. Go back. Okay, so we begin to unite, we begin to partner, we begin to diversify, etc., etc., etc. And then we are up to 2018, where Azimam declared in his last visit to the Diamond Jubilee, as Mukhtar mentioned, that we are now his dies. We are his ambassadors, his emissaries, and the change agents. This is very important because, we did not be shy about anything, okay? So the main message is that we need to now get to further out and so on. Of course, there are big milestones like the Silver Jubilee, 40th anniversary, 50th, 60th, and so on. I had the privilege of being in New York. I was not in institutions at that time, but the chance to be at the 40th when President Zul Ismail was our president in London. Then, of course, Golden Jubilee Omid ceremony and the 60th, okay? Now, there are very important things that Haji Imam said in New York, in London, etc. If we connect the dots, which is part of our mission today, Sakina is helping to time me, okay? If we connect the dots, back up. If we think closely about Haji Imam's tariqah, formans, hidayah, speeches, and actions throughout this decade, that's very important. What will happen is a light bulb will go off. What's even more important, as light bulbs go off for all of us, to connect the dots. When we do that, the entire blueprint, the entire roadmap that Mukhtar mentioned, or entire tapestry will emerge. It becomes very clear as to where we are and where we're going to be able to go. Okay. All right, now, we're not naive. We know there are some serious challenges facing all kinds of countries, including the United States. Go ahead. So, I will not be reading all of these things, but Haji Imam constantly has emphasized the balance, the issue about moral behavior, ethical behavior, balance between din and dunya, and so on. And this is way back in 1976. The messages are consistent. Now notice the word anchors. Without these anchors, we're going to be all over the place. But thankfully, we have those anchors. Always have been there, but now they're even stronger. Okay? All right. Now, in June 1996, or prior, I had the privilege of being the Vice President of the National Council. And there was an appointments meeting in Eglamour with Maulana Haji Imam. Our president was Dr. Habibullah Jamal, currently in New York, ENT surgeon. He was the president. His term was ending. So after the mulaqat, after Maulana Haji Imam appointed me as president, and I said, Jitulai, we went for the mulaqat. I mean, you were there with us. You and Shabna. You right? I mean? And Haji Imam blessed the outgoing leadership and the incoming leadership. And their blessing for the US Jamaat and Global Jamaat and Rouhani. But then he became kind of serious. He said at that meeting, we were sitting on the floor, the world is adrift. The world is adrift. Now, I was sitting on the floor, Habib was next to me, Amin was very close to me, our chairman of Tariq Board, Salim Bhatia, and others. And I was, honest to God, I was in cold sweat. Because here I was, just appointed president, which would be very challenging to do, and a privilege, of course. And now Maulana Haji Imam is saying the world is adrift. So I wasn't sure, okay? So when the mulaqat ended, and we went outside in the garden, I asked President Habib and Salim Bhatia and Moez Daya and others, what is our interpretation? Since that time, I totally agree with Haji Imam. But beyond that, I've created other aids. Sorry to give you bad news. The world is adrift, it's astray, okay? Meaning People are not thinking about strategy or business or principle. It's awash. We have an environmental disaster. It's a fire. Anytime there's an issue between two countries or two groups, instead of resolving it through reason and dialogue, it's like, I'm going to take you hostage. Okay, there was this kind of violence. Or this has got to stop. We are non-violent people. We are pacifists. Okay, and somebody as I was just calibrating this about these IAs, that it's asymmetric, meaning all countries are not quite working in equal, respectable terms, and asynchronous because we're not working coordinated. Good. Okay, so you can see every day in the media, virtually any source, this is outdated, with all kinds of issues going on. Okay? And on top, sorry, the statistics are not quite in place because I ran out of time, but you can see what's going on. Okay? The population is increasing. Total is 8 billion already. The median age in the US is 38. Europe is aging a bit. But in Africa, it's 19. There are 55 countries in Africa, and I don't know, I'm sure you know, next week, I think, President Biden has invited leaders of 50 plus African nations to meet in Washington. Is that correct? Because Africa is a very important continent, and that's why Hazimam, I think, has spent all this investment in time since the early 1900s. Oh, sorry, Sultan Muhammad Shah and Hazimam. Okay, so we have a big challenge. So, but people, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be critical, people generally are comfortably unaware. Okay, it's going through life without thinking through what's going on. Sorry. That's my view. By the way, I'm speaking not on behalf of the institution. I'm speaking as a citizen Sevadari. Okay, my terms are over, but it's been a huge education. I'm just speaking about what I've learned and what I continue to learn. In my opinion, yes, the world has progressed. Every nation has progressed. But there are so many complex issues that, I'm sorry, people are not paying attention, okay? We have an environmental issue. Are you surprised, or should we be surprised, that the Kalika that was just done on December 13? The two important paragraphs is about, one is about austerity and modesty on the material side, and the second paragraph has to do with the complex issues of climate change. We have a big challenge. Okay? Okay, keep going. So, I personally, as a citizen and a Sahadari, I'm mad as hell in a positive way. I don't know how many of you have seen the movie Network. Please see it. It was done in 1976. Okay, there's a speech by this anchorman about his frustrations. Please see it. So this is 1976. But if you see this movie, and you particularly this speech, it is as relevant today. Okay? All right. So we know there's a lot of problems. Okay? Hasiram says so. But we need to accept them, recognize them, not be comfortably unaware, and to live fully and courageously within the ethical principles and values. Okay. So yes, I personally, my mission in life for the rest of my life is to change the world. Of course, I'm not stupid or naive to think that I could do it alone. No way. Even if our children or grandchildren. But that's the trajectory that we are embarked on as Jamaat institutions and Imamat institutions. We are here to change the world. I don't mean this lightly. Again, it won't happen in this generation or the next one or the next one or the next one. No problem. Okay? That's the trajectory we embarked on. We have to bring about changes on a range of issues, particularly in those nations and regions where our Jamaats are based. Because here in Southwest and Houston, you are already a powerhouse. Okay? All right. Back up a little bit, Karim. Back up. Okay, so this is what Rumi said about changing the world, okay? Yeah, we can't do it alone, but first we have to change ourselves, okay? All right. Okay, so we talked about this already. This is the world. There are 5 continents, 10 regions, whatever, multiple cultures and traditions. In the Jamaat, we've got thousands of business people now, businessmen and businesswomen. We've got entrepreneurs, professionals, and intelligentsia. We are ready to go. Okay? And what's important is this new generation, the millions of children and young people that are coming up. Okay? And here are our headquarters in Houston, Burnaby, Lisbon. Sorry, it's out of sequence, okay? Sydney, Australia. But the red dots you see are the areas that need the most help. Not just the Jamaat that live in those regions or countries, but the societies in which they live. Okay? Go ahead. Okay, so what are the solutions? Okay. We have solutions. Okay, first and foremost, you can read this from your. This is as far back as 1964. And Mukasab that sent me the write-up, right? It's just an excerpt. Again, balance of spiritual and worldly matters, continuous search of truth in all matters, reasoning. Hundreds of years, the rope of Imamate has been there. And which direction we're going to have spiritual and worldly satisfaction. Okay, in Syria, in 2001, again, Asimov stresses the same thing. Balance, ethical principles, underpinning, anchors, spiritual obligation for the benefit, knowledge and the benefit of others. For example, in 2005, Maulana Haji Imam came to Toronto. I think there were Toronto and Vancouver. And our Northeast Jamaat was asked to go to Toronto. Other Jamaats from the West went to Vancouver. And in the Furman, I was in the back in the audience. You know, Haji Imam, you can imagine him at the stage in his jabbo and pagri. Sorry, topi, and then he's looking out into the Jamaat. Everybody was nicely dressed in suits and saris. They looked wonderful. I wasn't on the stage, but I'm sure Haji Imam was looking. So he was kind of saying, I'm paraphrasing, of course, that you all in Canada and USA have come a long way. You now have education, degrees, homes, cars, businesses, etc. Very good. He didn't say those things, but that was implied. But now I ask the question. He said, again I'm paraphrasing. The purposes for which you now apply your knowledge is also an extension of your faith. In other words, when we benefit others and we're providing TKN, we actually practicing our faith. Why so? Is that correct? Why? All right, keep going. Okay, this is 2016, his birthday. Same emphasis. Okay, keep going. Okay, so my definition of the so-called principles is that you have to think about legal matters, moral matters, and broad ethical matters. So for example, I mean, if you are speeding in Houston, in some of the highways and roads, that may be illegal. But it's probably not immoral. But it's unethical. Am I correct? We've got complex social issues, like euthanasia, for example, or abortion, for example. That's a moral issue. And in some cases, in states and countries, it's also illegal to do that, right? But regardless of whether yes or no, it's up to the individual, women particularly, and men, okay? Is it ethical or unethical? So we have to think about all this in every step of the way, every moment, every day. Okay? Is it the right thing, the wrong thing? The Sirat al-Mustaqim or otherwise? Okay, so I call them universal ethical principles and values. So they're right here in the middle for guidance. Our big goals are spiritual upliftment, increase the quality of life, standard of living. And in the center, this guidance, UEPVs, ethical principles and values, the talikal, the farmans, the speeches, the hidayah, everything is there. So I call this the compass, the direction that we need to keep in mind. With what I said, am I right so far? Okay, keep going. And we have to connect the dots. Now, this is a bit technical, so I won't go into it. We need to have a vision, 20 years out, drives the mission, goals, objectives, and strategies, and so on and so forth, okay? But equally important, if you look at this side of the equation, even if you understood all these circles, thank you. Even if we knew everything in those circles there, if we do not have passion, we ain't going anywhere. So I'm trying to exercise what passion is possible. Of course, you have it too. And also, if I may suggest, we need to get angry, not in a negative way. I'm just speaking as an individual. I'm not speaking on behalf of institutions or anything. We have to have passion and anger to bring about change, okay? And as we used to call Moyes and others on the Economic Planning Board, FIB, fire in the belly. We have to bring about change, and we are the spearhead. We meaning Houston, Southwest, and the United States of America. Jamal. Okay, we have to have that swing, as Ella Fitzgerald said. If you don't have that, it doesn't mean a thing if you don't have a swing. And if you don't have the passion or anger, you ain't gonna go anywhere. Okay, so now we are ready. We got Jamaat institutions. I'm sure you know it by the side. In the time of Sultan Mahmud Shah, there were only 5 national councils. I mean, am I right? Supreme Council. It was on December 13, 1986, that the new constitution was ordained by Maulana Hazim Imam. That's when the Education Board, the Health Board, the Economic Planning Board, other institutions, more local councils began to emerge. But they were executed starting July 11, 1987. Okay, at that time there were only a few academic institutions. Today, this is what it looks like. In the center, the red, the guidance is there, the vision is there. We've got economic development, social development, culture. This is just a subset of the agency, okay? All right? And they're designed to address, it's so interesting. The center, it's really about health, wealth, and wisdom. If we think about when Hazim Imam was appointed as Imam by Sultan Mashhad, July 11, 57, he was 20 years old, he was still a student. I don't know, I wasn't there, but I'm sure he must have put his hand on his head and said, oh my God, how do I start? There are only 5 councils, Jamaat institution, no AKDN. Where do I go? Anyway, brick by brick over the years, this is what has been built. What's exciting, even more exciting, Hazim Imam knew that this is my theory, that the Jamaat institutions are important, but they cannot do the work alone to change the world. We need the Aga Khan Development Network. So you saw that organization chart. But beyond that, we need external partners, governments, foundations, academic institutions, private sector, etc., etc., etc. I don't know, I have not been to academia.org recently, but I think the number of external partners we have is 120 plus. Microsoft Corporation, Rockefeller Foundation, Ford Foundation, Harvard, MIT, University of London, Oxford. I may be a little off track, but basically we have all this. Everything is ready to go. Houston, there is no problem, okay? All right? Keep going. Okay, so this, we're approaching Christmas, and one of the famous literature writers is, of course, Charles Dickens. And we keep on hearing on television and so on, this A Christmas Carol that is always a movie that is always done in multiple interpretations. But this is what he had to say as far back as 1843. And the character Marley is asking the question, okay, that, business is mankind. In other words, what is our business? What is the business of the Imam, the Imamat, and the institution, in my opinion? We are in the business of humankind. By the way, you know all this, okay? I'm just trying to connect the dots. Okay, go ahead. Okay. Hazim Imam has always said to look further out, okay? So not 5, in every farmer, he doesn't say next year we should try to do this, or next 3 years we should do that. It's always decades ahead. And not just decades, we're talking about 50, 100, 200 years. Okay? Keep going. Okay. And in Canada, he insisted about this. Every time I come to Canada, I ask myself the question, what is the position of my job? And I will ask you that question 25 years from now. If you know the answer, alhamdulillah. If you don't know the answer, think about it. Really. Okay? Back then, I mean, if you remember, Nazim, our vision was this, a dynamic and united multicultural community of exemplary North American citizens anchored in the principles of Islam and propelled by a network of globally oriented institutions and leaders. Okay? So that vision, of course, is broken up into multiple components, such as this. Okay? And so on, we have to address all these things. That's how our Jamaat institutions and academic institutions are structured. Okay? And the idea back then was that back then, in 1990 or earlier, this was the rough position of the Jamaat. I mean, you can authenticate this roughly, not statistically, but these are Haji Imam's terms about strugglers and starters. Am I correct? We on the National Council added that by saying there are strugglers, starters, and those who are progressing, thanks to His grace, are runners and sprinters. Keep going. Okay? And the rough percentage was this. Okay? Okay. The idea was that going forward, okay, we need to convert this samosa into an egg roll, meaning roughly equal stratum, okay? Roughly. Okay, now, did we attain this? Okay, I'm just going to take one case study. Where is somebody here from the trade association? Okay, Akbar. I'm just using one example. Here's an example of the National Alliance of Trade Associations. I've always been a champion, if I may say so, of trade associations. Okay? This is how they organize, etc., etc., etc. By pulling themselves up by the bootstraps in the worst hardship conditions, year after year. Okay? Today, NATA looks something like this. Am I right? Okay, keep going. Keep going. Okay, and the vision back then was that the number of trade associations will continue to multiply. I'm told, Akbar, is that correct? That the total revenues of all the trade associations and the 3, 4, 5,000 businesses therein is something like 2 billion a year. Is that correct? Okay, anyway, it's billions. Okay, go ahead. All right, so this is the rough vision. It's just a case example of the possibilities. Okay, that, we have 10 trade associations, 3,000 orders, and it's much bigger now. Those statistics are not quite correct, but you can get the picture, okay? All right. What about doing an audit of what Hassan Ahmed said? Okay, we're done. Silver Jubilee, this, okay? Well, every milestone you look at there, and if you think about what Hazim said, that has actually been achieved. Okay, for example, I'll just use one example. Look at the second one that says the London 40th anniversary jubilee. I had the privilege to be there. Zul Ismail was the chairman of the LIF, and Hazimam, after the blessings and the ceremonies, he said he made the irshad. He says, going forward, we're approaching the 21st century. This is 97. I leave you leaders with 5 guidelines, which I'd like you to follow as you go forward. Number 1, understand, articulate, listen to his verbs, understand, articulate, practice the ethical principles of Africa. You cannot practice unless you can articulate. You cannot articulate unless you understand. Understand, articulate, and practice. Number two, the Soviet Union has collapsed. The regions are emerging. There have been many more encounters between various Jamaats. We should really understand that and leverage that. It has happened. Number three, in my 40 years of my imamah, I'm very pleased to see in my global Jamaat young men and women who are educated, competent, and skilled. I would like for all of you to identify them, mobilize them, and deploy them in the work of our institutions. We didn't know it then, boys, but that was the basis of the TKN. Fourth guideline quickly was that we have, as Ismailis and as Muslims, we have a long history, long substance of heritage. The time has now come to tell the world who we are and what we stand for. Rich heritage, traditions, etc. The time has come to tell the world who we are, and why should we be shy about it? We didn't know it then, but that was the precursor and the foundation for the Aga Khan Development Network.org, and so on and so forth. Okay? Okay, so going forward in 2050, our Southwest President Murad is here. Thank you, President, and you can then verify this later, okay? Okay, so Vision 2050, okay? If we take what we said in 2020, personally, again, as a citizen, I did not see that many changes. I only added two more things, okay? A dynamic, united, and resourceful multicultural community of exemplary North American citizens, world citizens, okay? Okay. Now, with knowledge, experience, institutions, and the power that we have, where we want to be is to invert the samosa. Inshallah, by 2050, approximately, we want more sprinters, more runners, more starters, and those of us who are underprivileged or have had challenges, that number is getting really disproportionate. This is approximate. This is where we want to be. We want to go from this samosa to an inverted samosa. Keep going. Okay? Where there is no vision, the people perish. This is what the Bible says. Okay? So we have a vision. We don't have a problem. Hazim has told us this already. Okay, keep going. Okay? Some military guy said this. Wider field of vision, clear line of fire. Sorry, I'm not a military person, but I follow them. Okay? We're all about vision. In conclusion, two favorite words. What are we seeking? I like acronyms. Amin knows this, okay? We're seeking peace, parity, peace between nations, peace between cultures, peace between groups. We're seeking parity, bringing about income and other equality. We can't do it alone, I understand. We're looking for prosperity, continual progress, but in partnerships, we'll need perseverance, we will need prudence, as Hazimam said in the previous Hidayah, think through wisely with caution, and we need performance. Okay, now go back. What resources do we have? There's only 5 kinds of resources. Men and women, machines, technology. This is a picture of fusion reactor. You've heard the news about fusion. Materials, meaning buildings and so on. Methods, processes, plans, procedures, policies, etc. Go ahead. And of course, money. Without money, nothing is going to happen. Okay, and we are already a major generator of wealth for the cause of the Jamaat institutions and globally. You know all this. Okay? Much will be required of us. This is what the Bible says. Okay? Keep going. Okay? And then we will have debates. We'll have arguments. We'll have differences. No problem. Through that indirection, we will seek out direction. Is there something to worry about? I'm not worried, okay? We should recognize the challenges and the issues, but we have the solutions. Okay? Okay, so this is one of my most favorite hidayah. I will not read the whole thing, but I'll just say, as Imam said back in 93, I would like to look to the future with caution, but also with opportunity, hope. I call it HOCO, hope, opportunity, confidence, and opportunity. And I would like for the Jamaat institutions to work together with common goals, common objectives, common principles, and ethics. Okay? But we will need caution and wisdom. Now, otherwise, sorry to keep pointing at you. Look at the word. Common goals, common objectives, common principles. But he did not say common ethics. Would you agree? And by the side, would you agree that ethics by definition are universal? Cut across. Okay. All right. So Bodhu Barabar said. Now, we are approaching a few slides, thankfully. Okay. Last few slides. When I was on the council, one of my mentors was Chairman Akbar Jamal, our former president of the Southwest region, chairman of the Tariqa board. In my first year on the National Council, I was overwhelmed, but I asked it by the Akbar Bhai, I'm a rookie on the National Council. I have some questions. He said, about what? I said, well, I have some questions about the Imam, about the Imamah, about where we are, where we're going. He said, listen, don't ever stop asking questions. If I can answer them, I will do so. If not, I will send you to other experts in the Jamaat institution. So from there, he just talked about if you have in a key position, your responsibility is first to protect the Imam. Second, the Imamat. Third, the institutions. I've expanded it further. To say the Imam, the Imamat, the institution, the Ismaili Jamaat, and the international community. On top, integrity means basically ethics. Imagination, innovation, we'll need that. And interestingly, when I was discussing these eyes, it happened to be in Washington, and Morgan, you pay attention, sorry. We were having dinner, you, me, Sultana, and was Shamsa with you or Salima? Okay. So Moyes introduced me to Shamsa, right? And we were just discussing institutions and this and that. I said, well, this is what I've learned, that potentially Ihmadi Sahib and others, Imam, Imamat, institutions, Ismaili Muslim Jamaat. But I've expanded it to integrity, imagination, innovation, etc. He said, this is very good. But you're missing one more I. I said, what's that? She said, implementation. So I love that, okay? And Napoleon, by the way, said, strategy is but an art. It's all about execution. Okay? So, we have this. Think about the T's also. Always tell the truth, because then you don't have to remember what we said. Build trust, teamwork, transparency, time management. There's some mistake there. Nothing is more important, besides ethics and all that, is this. This is our biggest enemy. And we have to work fast with tremendous excellence and so on. Okay? Now, when you have doubts, as Hazim Mahmoud said in multiple meetings, right? Amin, Nazim, etc. Who have been there, boys, Shiraz. If we don't have the answer, think it through. The night will bring wisdom. What we don't want is TNT, meaning talk and talk, okay? We have the plan, we have the solution, we got to think it through. Okay. Lastly, I'm from Washington, D.C. Okay, I invite all of you to come to Washington anytime. Mukhtar Nazar has my contacts and others. I'll give you a personally guided tour of what I call the M's, the museums, memorials, and monuments. What's important is that when you think about the Constitution of the United States, we the people, and our Constitution, which you should try to read, and the separation of powers, there's parallels between our Constitution and that of the U.S. Constitution. One more example. If I took you to the Jefferson Memorial, you see the dome there? Inside is the statue of Thomas Jefferson, our third president. But the inscriptions inside the dome are his principles that he has expounded back then in 1780, whatever it was. Late 1700, early 1800. I would like you to reflect on his quotations, Thomas Jefferson, and cross-compare them to what Maulana Hazim has been saying all along. I'm not saying one is copied from the other, but the point I made earlier, the ethical principles by definition are universal. So I'd be happy to give you a guided tour. One more. The Lincoln Memorial is also in Washington. There are two excerpts from President Lincoln's speeches. The Gettysburg Address, 271 words, and the second inaugural address. If we read that carefully, okay, again, you will see that intersection. So, bottom line and in conclusion, we are poised, almost always has been. This rocket is about to take off. By rocket, I mean the USA Jamaat. And I'm not flattering you. In that, the Southern Jamaat in particular, not because President Murad is here, I'm just saying, this is what I observed. I was stunned by what I saw the last 2 days. I'm exhausted with Nazar Momin's tours that will get positive exhaustion, okay? I'm just amazed by what I've seen. And this don't exist. So President Murad, inshallah, well, I'll be heading back to Washington on Tuesday. I know President Al-Qaim is very busy, but I would love to share the slides with him and so on. But to authenticate everything I've said here, okay? So, and we'll do that. So anyway, we are all ready to go. We have a long mission and vision ahead, and we should go forward, okay? All right, so thank you very much, and thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Amin Hashim, for crystallizing our future and weaving that tapestry for us. Now I'm just going to take a few minutes. To share my experiences before we ask President Murad Ajani to close out this session. So we're making some changes here, so I will say it very quickly. So my brief address this afternoon will be about my journey through the 80s and the 90s. And when I first ever heard about this reunion, a lot of thoughts came to mind. But the one that really stuck with me was, if only I knew then what I know now. So my journey is going to be based about what I knew then, if only I knew then what I knew now. When I arrived in Houston in America back in September of 1981 from London, England, with a degree in computer science, there were not too many computer scientists in our Jamaat. That was then. Now it's very different. Back then, someone had donated a personal computer to the Southwest Council, and someone had donated some software. So President Akbar Jamal and On Secretary Karim Irani were looking for someone to make use of that package. And I walked in with my quirky British accent. Oh boy, did I walk in. You can laugh, thank you. We didn't have much space back then. So on Saturdays, I would go to the Houston Medical Center where Karim worked and use their personal computer and their software. And Karim, being generous, he would reward me with a game of squash and win. In fact, if truth be told, he would crush me. Thank you, Karim, I still have those scars. Sorry, I mean my speech is more lighthearted than yours. I'm sure most of you back then got involved in those dreaded MIS reports on a quarterly basis. But perhaps what you did not know is that MIS did not stand for Management Information System, but rather every quarter it stood for Many Ismailis Suffering. So, thank you old-timers. So I worked with Amin Mauji to try and automate the financial part of the MIS reporting. Amin Mauji and I would travel at weekends to different centers to try and implement the project and introduce automation. And of course, each center presented their own challenges. But I think we all know Amin Mauji, he can be very persuasive. Thank you, Amin. Now in the early 80s, there was a lot of chatter about immigration reform. Nothing changes in Washington, by the way. There was a lot of chatter about immigration reform, and so the council wanted to know what impact it would have on our Jamaat. So I started working with Mukhi Saduddin Momin to capture information, enter it into the system, and stuff like that. Well, thankfully by then, our computer had given birth to a second computer. So in the evenings, we had volunteers banging away the forms, and then in those days, personal computers and software were not as stable as they are today. And so there would be a lot of data corruption, and I would have to clean it up and enter more forms. If only I knew back then about optical character recognition software, it would have been so much easier. But hey, I'm going as fast as I can. National Council launched a national census, which I mean you are aware of. And so there was more form fillings. I'm hurrying up, Mr. Momin, I'm hurrying up. So there was more form fillings, more banging away at keyboards, more data cleansing. In fact, we entered more data in the Southwest region than anyone has ever entered. Millions and billions of pieces of information, more than anyone will ever enter in history. Just kidding. I've been watching Donald Trump's video on the art of persuasion on exaggeration. Joke. Thank you, Mr. Saduddin Momin is really fretting over there. The combination of immigration data and census data came into good use because we heard that Hazrat Imam was coming to Houston and we needed to produce ID cards. So I took off a week off work, and told my boss I'll be coming in and started working on the ID cards. Now back then, there weren't that many templates to print ID cards, so I had to design the whole thing, and you had to tell in detailed code where to draw the line, where to start, the thickness of the line, and all that good stuff. So after 3 days, I was done, and it was complicated because I had 8 cards on a page. So after 3 days, I did all that. I went late into the evenings, printing all those cards. Next day, I took it to the print shop to get it laminated and cut into individual cards and have the edges rounded because of there were sharp edges. So there I was. 2 days later, I went to the print shop, picked up 2 boxes of cards, and I went back to the council. I was feeling pretty good about myself, but you knew there was a but coming, right? But when I opened the box, the cards were there, but unlike the way I gave it to them, which was ordered in Jamaati centers, last name, first name, these cards were all jumbled up. Quite a lot, thousands of cards all jumbled up. Well, I was sweating a lot more than I'm sweating now, I can tell you that. All right. So 2 uniform volunteers came to my help. One was Ali Akbar's sister Sakina, the other one was Farida. And all through the night, we worked on sorting the cards. So Sultana Mangalji, who is not here today, but Moez will accept the congratulations for her, was able to give out those cards the next day. So sometimes when the intentions are good, things do happen. I also received some of my reports made it to some gentlemen, and I received a very complimentary handwritten letter from someone I'd never known, complimenting on my stuff, and also sharing his idea for a Jamaati census called the IRS system. And it was signed by Amin Hashim. Thank you, Amin. You picked on Moez, I'll pick on you. No, it was signed by Amin Hashim, all kidding aside. And today he's our keynote speaker. Here's the fun part. So I developed a lot of software for Dr. Almas Maklai, who was on the health board at the time. And so I accompanied the doctors on a 2-day health fair to Austin. Well, the Austin Jamaat was so pleased that they gave us all a personalized plaque. And my plaque said, Dr. Amin Mukhi. Who needs 7 years of medical school when you can go to Austin for 2 days and get a doctor, you know? And I don't mean PhD, I mean medical doctor, right? So if only you doctors knew then what you know now, right? I'm going fast. Eventually my programming days faded away, but that desire to automate processes and make them more efficient never died. So when the national chair of AKEB board asked me to develop a system to help him track grant and loan and help them move away from spreadsheet, I jumped to it. Well, some 18 months later, working part-time, off and on, the application was ready. It was my masterpiece, my pièce de résistance. I mean, it was something. It had all the bells and whistles you can think of, including dual currency, which Eglamont likes, and also sending email at the press of a button. Now, this was before the advent of web-based applications, all right? So the national chair was so pleased that he asked me to present this software at the International Education Services and Board meeting in London, England. Now, you have to remember that when I left London back in '81, they were just laying down the foundations of the Jamaat Khana. So here I was some 20 years later going to the roof garden and making a presentation. Who said you cannot go home? And we know Moise goes home to East Africa very often for his eye clinic, so you can. A year later, I did a similar presentation to Eglamont. They requested me to come there and make a presentation. So I made a, I'm doing my best. But this is the punchline, okay? So here's the thing. So I made a presentation at Eglamont. So you see, even computer geeks like myself can get that 15-minute of fame. So the moral of my, if only I knew then what I know now, was, so I have to read this, is that if you give yourself without any expectation of fame or reward, you can go home, which for me was London. You can get recognized by someone or someones you had never met. And you can become a doctor by going to Austin. So thank you, friends and colleagues, for my journey with our president, our current president, Azad Maulana. Please, President.
Can I make a correction?
Yeah, please.
I just wanted to make a correction. I goofed a little bit in my presentation. One of my members was Anu Kajani. Is he still here? Anu was a member for youth, and I forgot to mention him. I forgot to mention Khulabak Shwaji, who was my member for legal, who was very helpful in all the endeavors we had. And Nazmuddin Keshwani, Dr. Keshwani, who was our health member at the time. So I just wanted to mention those two names. I forgot to mention. Thank you.
Yadim with everyone. It could be quite intimidating standing here with so many senior Jamaati leaders who have served the Jamaat and the Imam, and so for so many years. And so let me try my best to share a few remarks. First of all, let me recognize our Mukhi Sahib Nazar Moment for organizing. I know he's been working on this for the last few months. I remember receiving a call from him almost 3 months ago, where he had the idea of bringing the leadership together. And so thank you so much. Let me recognize all of our senior leadership, certainly from the region, as well as the national leadership who's here. Certainly the many Jamaati members who are present here. Thank you so much. Let me recognize our elected official, Dr. Sulaiman Lalani. I don't think Naushad is here, but certainly we're so proud of having a Smiley Muslim represent in a state legislature this year. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I'll just share a few things. It's been this is my second term serving in this capacity, and of course Azam has been so gracious, so kind to allow the leadership to sort of continue on. As we prepare the nomination, NOMAX, end of term report, we start to reflect back as to what has been the journey, for me, what has been a journey for the region, and then perhaps meet with the previous local council president. I've had many opportunities to meet with our previous local council president. And I rely on their shoulder when I run into any issues, any challenges. If I need advice, I rely on. I think I saw President Sada, President Moise, Dr. Shiraz, and then I don't think Aftab and others are here, but certainly thank you so much for your leadership and for really always being there whenever I needed to bounce some ideas. You know, when you reflect back, and I'll reflect back in 2002. I remember when I was the REC principal, and a family who had recently arrived from Pakistan, parents, husband, wife, 3 kids, two son and a daughter, and they moved in trade winds, and they came to REC to register, and we're just chit-chatting back in 2002, and they were saying, well, we're here, we're going to go to Alif, Elsik, and Hastings, and what should we do? And of course, I think you look at the implementation that the leadership has made based on Hazram's guidance since 80s, maybe even prior to that. The Hazram emphasis on education. What does that mean? Particularly in the USA context. And so he continues to pushes the Jamaat, pushes the leadership, and I had an opportunity in 2019, and I'll share that when we submitted the name to Khudaven, and Hazram, I mean, he was so happy, so happy to see so many murids in their masters and PhD come forward to serve the Jamaat and Imam. So happy. And I know this has happened because of Imam's continuous guidance, but then a lot of implementation from this group and many other sevadaris like yourself. And so our discussion was that, you should focus on education. Of course, perhaps you'll run into some odd jobs, but the priority should be education. Today, just fast forwarding, the son is a medical doctor. He's actually a neurologist. The daughter has a PhD in pharmacy, and son is a nurse. This is what the education has changed the family. Perhaps in ultra poverty family, who's now, mashallah, family is doing extremely well. And I think if you look at, of course, Hazram recent Talika Mubarak that we heard about helping the global Jamaat, and last night we were talking to somebody, and is how do we do both? I think Imam is looking at this Jamaat, particularly the USA Jamaat, is how do we help the global Jamaat, and perhaps in an intellectual capacity, perhaps being a doctor or engineers or scientists or space technologists. I'll tell you what this has done for this community. I think perhaps we're a small community, but there's a term that we perhaps more influence compared to the size of our community. During the Diamond Jubilee, when Hazram had expressed his desire that he would like to visit the U.S. and in Houston particularly, and imagine finding a hall for 50,000 people in 1 month in Houston, not possible. But imagine when you have a mayor of a large city, Commissioner Rodney Ellis, and a rodeo president on a call trying to figure out is how do we find space and NRG so that His Highness can come and meet with the community. This doesn't happen because we did something, that I did something, or the Honorary Secretary Faisal Moment at that time did something. I think this is a journey, this is the foundation that has been laid out by the leadership with the Imam's guidance for decades and decades and decades. I think today, last night, I think most of you were there last night, Mayor Turner had reached out to me and said, I heard that you guys are celebrating, I would like to come. I said, of course, it's your city, you can come anytime. I think that's what we have starting to develop in the city, and of course, mashallah, with the states, and perhaps in the country. And I think this will continue to help the Jamaat. And to me, a strong believer and is certainly how do you continue to move forward and sort of push our Jamaat. Perhaps I still run into parents who feel that perhaps we shouldn't send our daughter to UT Austin because it's away from Houston. I think it's all of you who can help us, who can help push forward Imam's agenda. And so once again, thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to come and share, and thank you so much for this leadership that's currently serving this council. And unfortunately, Onsek Irfan is not here, and certainly those of you who have served in the institution knows that Honorary Secretary really does most of the work and president normally comes and takes a picture and photo op, but really is the humble appreciation to all of you that you have done such a tremendous work over the years that has allowed us to sort of move so freely, so easily, that we're now starting to create some critical contacts and critical influential contact. And so thank you so much. Mukhi Sahib, thank you once again, and I hope that in 10 years down the line that we also have a similar celebration for myself, but many more exciting things to come. Hazram is really excited about the Somali Center Houston, and so we are looking forward. I think I am so happy for my kids, and I'll tell you, I think about a month ago, 2 months ago, something came up in our dinner discussion, and I was saying something about back home, and my daughter, who's 15 years old, reminded, she said, "Dad, this is home." And for a minute I said, "Yes, of course, this is home as well. Yeah, there is no such thing as back home." I think Somali Center Houston is going to change. It will be a game changer for us and for our children. And so thank you. Stay with us. Continue to guide us. Continue to guide me. Perhaps if there's anything that I've made mistake, and please reach out. We are all Sevadaris here. I'm Sevadari here serving the Jamaat. But please do not hesitate. Do not hesitate to reach out. Thank you. Yadi Madad.
So without any further ado, I'll invite Dr. Suleiman to come and address us. Thank you.
Yali Madad, I'm very honored to share this dais with all the leadership. At the same time, I'm also dumbfounded what to say. Thank you for inviting us to be part of this elite group, breaking the bread at the elite restaurant on an elite day, as my parents will say, Jamaat khane se pagle ghar leke jaane ke barkat ke. So I was joking with Taj Bhai and Saeed that special thanks to Mukhi Sahib that all those barkat paglas have come here. You know, elections is a very expensive way of finding out who's your friend, who's pretending to be your friend, and who's your foe. But we are blessed to say we have found so many more friends here. And Mukhi Sahib, Mukhi Nazar, you know, me and Zakia had a dream, but Mukhi Sahib actually saw the dream, and I mean in a literal sense. One day he calls me that, Mukhiani Mas wakes him up, Mukhi Sahib, jago, tame badbada raya cho, ke Dr. Lalani won. Is that true, Mukhi Sahib? So it's a blessing, you know, it's a blessing to have your trust, blessing to have your friendship, blessing to have your mentorship. I'm also blessed to be be here because people like me are standing on the shoulder of the giants of people sitting in this room. One of the blessings of being Smileys, I think, is seva. And you know, being a little boy or a girl when you are in the scouting or planning company or in a volunteer, where you are telling somebody to, you know, sit in the line, you're learning that politeness, but you also have learning that confidence that no matter the stature of the person is, if they're out of their box, you can make them sit in the line. And then, you know, go into the institutions, you learn with different capacities, you learn time management, you learn fundraising, you learn to be disciplined, you learn to be human resources. And as the presidents have said, I think this is the best university. And after the institution, I think everybody should get an honorary degree of master's in management. Yeah? In one of our interviews, the ABC reporter was very intrigued and was saying why Dr. Lalani keeps on mentioning America, good country, why is he invoking patriotism to his constituents? And I kind of, you know, had a little smile. I said, he does not know Ismailis or doesn't know the Aga Khan. But Dr. Zara Jamal answered him very well. He said, why not? Because he is an immigrant Muslim, but you know, this Muslim values and American values have so much similarity. We focus on pluralism, we focus on religious freedom, we focus on diversity. We also work with underprivileged and marginalized people to make them, they have a quality of life. We also foster, embrace law of the land. So there are so many things which are in common. And then I was thinking, what a better way than to have a seat on the table where decisions are made and we can practice those ethics. Well, thank you so much for all your help. Thank you so much. It's such a blessing to see so many of you that have something to do with our lives, and wherever we are is because of all of you. Thank you. Ya Ali Madad.
Okay, now I'm going to ask Mukhi Nazar Momin and Mukhi Nasir Panjwani to close out today's event. It's really been fantastic seeing you all, and let's hope the next one won't take this long. All right, okay, Ya Ali Madad.
Ya Ali Madad, everyone. I'm going to be very short. When I walked in, Mukhi Nazar asked me that you need to close out with me because him and I served from 1993 to 1996 as Mukhi Kamaria in headquarters Jamaat, so we have built friendship for many years that we have cherished our friendship together, and he said that please do come and do the closing. I also wanted to invite President Moiz Mangalji to come up, please, because there is a reason why, please come up, is President Moiz Mangalji, Mukhi Nazar, and I was the Kamaria, we served together. We had a lot of headquarters stories, the council stories that we had, that I wanted to make sure that these three people during the year 1993 and 1996 had made a lot of history, so do get an opportunity to talk to us. President, you want to share anything for a minute?
I wasn't planning, I'm not on the list at all, I don't know. No, I just want to say that firstly, I didn't expect this, but what this is, Mukhi Sahib, this is amazing, what you've done. I really didn't know how big this was and how amazing it is to go back in history, to never forget where we started. So we as a team have built this foundation where the new leadership is basically, as you said, President, that, we've all built up from foundation, and then we all built upon it. So to me, just to see the people that were involved with me, but also people that came before me and after me, it's amazing. So I think the gratitude goes to all of you. Now, that's not only the institution of, the Jamaat institutions, but also the Jamaat Khanas, also with the Mukhi Sahib, Kamaria Sahib, and so on. So all I want to do is just to echo that what we have seen here, what Amin is, where's Amin Hassan? I don't know. Okay, Amin Hassan is talking about the future, but what I'm focused on is what happened, as you were saying, for the history that we've had together. So thank you so much for, at least, firstly, I thank Hazrat Imam and for allowing me this opportunity of being on EPB and also be a president of the council. But more important is for all of us together, how we should be very proud and put our hands on our heart and say that, you know what, we did a great job. So thank you, and I'm so happy that I'm part of this wonderful group of Sevadaris. Thank you.
Thank you, President. Yes. Thank you, Mukhi Sahib, for organizing this. And as a friend of Mukhi Sahib, I'm asked to pray for everyone who is here, and I'm going to do that. Que May Mola accept our sevas and khidmat. Over the years, this leadership has provided to Imamat institution and the Jamaat. Ameen. May Mola give us more opportunity to serve the Imam, his Jamaat, and our children to come. Ameen. May Mola give us the ability to excel the thought process into our children to serve the Imam and the Jamaat for many, many decades and many, many generations to come. May Mola accept the khidmat of everyone who loves to partake in seva. Ameen. Ameen.
This is the last item on the agenda. I hope you have enjoyed the reunion event program along with a lot of thought-provoking ideas. I'm thinking about starting Be My Dai social media group, strictly for passing the information to you so you can pass that information to your non-Ismaili friends about Ismailism and about Ummah. that will automatically give you some sort of performance of doing a function of DAI. You may be getting a text once a quarter probably. If you like it, you continue. If you don't like it, you can say, I don't want to be part of this group, basically. Again, thank you very much for coming. We may be fine-tuning the presentation before posting on the email. You may be watching it, but you will not be copied. Last thing, CBS great news anchorman, late Walter Cronkite, was always saying, that's the way it is before he closed his last nightly news broadcast shows, if you remember that. For us, as a Ismaili, that is the way it was, and with Mola's blessing, life goes on. Thank you.